All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations be unto the Akim, out here pushing the gospel and truth and sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is the brother Quanawath come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. In the title of this lesson is going to be something to the degree of, this place, these people, right, have got their morals, right, all mixed up, right? Some to the degree of that, it might not be that, but, I was just, I had seen this article, which we're going to get into it, right? This older woman basically, immediately after she got a divorce, right, is now, trying to hop into, OnlyFans, you know, showing you again that these people don't have good morals, right? So I ended up, looking up, right, the word moral, right? It says associated with or characterized by right behavior, right? It says also associated with or concerning conduct or moral principle, good or bad, right? So these people got bad morals, if you will, right? They're not the morals that these people have are not based, upon the scriptures, right, as they should be, right? But they're ultimately based on, one's own feelings or lusts, right, for whatever it may be, you know. And this is what we see, ultimately glorified, within the world and in these people, right? These people do not have good morals, man. You know. So let me jump into this article, right? This is on the Newsbreak app, right? Radio Online. It says American Pie star Shannon Elizabeth joins OnlyFans at 52 after divorcing husband. This is what her quote, right? I'm showing off a sexy side nobody has seen. And it's supposed to stay that way, right? Only your husband is supposed to see that, you know? And according to the law, right, you women, right, when you ultimately get married to a man, right, which we know that, according to the scriptures, right, marriage is ultimately, sex, right, is when a man and woman ultimately are joined together, right, through sex, right, that ultimately, allows for them to become one, right, and a woman is supposed to be with one man her entire life, you know. So ultimately, she already, is off to a bad start. Just in the headline, you know. But it says American Pie star Shannon Elizabeth has announced she's joining OnlyFans at the age of 52, and that's an aged woman right there, man. Right, trying to join, fucking, OnlyFans, you know, which is ultimately, these women out here committing adultery, right? That's what that shit is. That's what it promotes. Women committing adultery, right? It says RadarOnline.com can reveal the actress will launch her account on the subscriptions site on Thursday. Blah blah blah. Don't give a fuck. It says her surprise move to the X-rated platform comes after her divorce from her husband, Simon Borchit. She met the South African conservation specialist in 2015, and they married in 2021, right? Just a few years ago, right? It says a source told Page Six the divorce is fresh. She is freshly single and launching her OnlyFans. So this was an immediate move, and you best believe that this bitch was planning that shit, you know, prior, right? Prior to, you know, you know, actually, getting a divorce, right? So this is something that, was thought of and ultimately now she's executed. Now she's, divorced, right? She probably, and I'm just speculating at this point, but she probably caused her relationship to go sour, right? And just so she can do this, right? Just so she can, get more money, right? Because these women, they think that once they get on OnlyFans, they're just gonna be, you know, extremely rich after that, you know, because it's just of a few cases, right? There was information coming out. A lot of these females aren't even getting paid a lot, right, for doing OnlyFans, man, right? Meaning, in showing you that these women are just natural fucking, HO3s, man. You know, they damn near do this shit for free, right? It says Elizabeth, who played exchange student Nadia in the American Pie movie franchise alongside Jason Biggs, hasn't publicly announced her split, but she seemingly hinted at her breakup in a Facebook post. We'll skip that. This is what she wrote. It says, "There's something about the ocean that resets everything, slows the noise, softens the edge, and brings you right back to what matters. Grateful for these quiet moments, Sandy Paws, and unconditional love." Elizabeth did, however, reveal she's joining the subscription-based platform in an effort to take control of her narrative. She told People, right, being People magazine or whatever, it says, "I've spent my entire career working in Hollywood, where other people control the narrative and the outcome of my career. This new chapter is about changing that, showing off a more sexy side no one has seen, and being closer to my fans," right? So again, right, just being a harlot, an HO3, man. This is what she's, at her age, right? She shouldn't be doing this shit. You're 52 fucking years old. You trying to basically be a harlot, you know? Come on now. Right, but this is the same mentality, right? The same morals, right, that we see within these people today, right? This woman has her shit all fucked up, man. You know, um, she's not following the playbook, man. You know, but this is First Timothy 2 and verse 9. It says, "Women instructed," right? It says, "In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel," right? Which you see a lot of these females, they don't be dressing in modest apparel. I be seeing, because I got the Newsbreak app, and you'll see, a lot of these older females, especially actresses and so on and so forth. A lot of these women are dressing provocative, man, right? They promote that shit, right? You look at a lot of the Met Galas and this and the third. A lot of these women are dressing scantily, you know, these different events, and what does that do? It ultimately creates, in the younger women's mind, right, that's okay, right? That is something that they, should do. When it's not, right, you got to be dressed in modest apparel, meaning, your dress, right, is supposed to come past down your knee, right? It's not supposed to be skin tight like these summer dresses, that these females be wearing, right? It's not supposed to show your curves. It's not supposed to show your figure, you know. You're not supposed to show any cleavage or, stuff like that. That's modest apparel, right? But see that right there is, you're not going to see that, in today's woman, right? It says, "With shamefacedness, right, and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array." These women are not shamefaced, you know. When you read it in the NLT, it says, "And I want women to be modest in their appearance. They should wear decent and appropriate clothing and not draw attention to themselves," right? Meaning you're not supposed to be all, outgoing. And matter of fact, let's look up that word shamefaced, right? What does it mean, right? Shamefacedness, right? Eidos, right? Eidos, Strong's G127. It says a sense of shame or honor, modest, bashfulness, reverence, regard for others, respect, right? And you best believe these women are nowhere near, like this, man. Especially these actresses, these older actresses, they damn sure ain't like that, man. When they're supposed to be, right? Scriptures talk about that. Let's go back, right? So I come on, right here. When you go back, it says verse 10. It says, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works, right? Good works, right? Meaning you're ultimately supposed to be doing, right, and tailoring your attitude, your morals, your values, right, after the scriptures, right? It says, let's grab this. right? Because scriptures talk about, right, that the aged woman, right? Oh, it's in Titus 2, right? Right here, Titus 2 and 3. It says, the aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, right? Not false accusers, not given too much wine, right? Teachers of good things, right? That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of the Most High be not blasphemed. Right. So there's a certain, certain characteristics, right? Certain, attitudes that you're ultimately supposed to be, operating in, you know. And again, we don't see that in these women, especially these older women, right? They're not leading by example, right? And this is ultimately what's going to lead these women to be put to death, is because of this, lustful, worldly, wicked behavior, right? That these women are exemplifying, man. This woman is 52 years old and she's supposed to be leading by example, but she's not. Right? Or she's leading by example, but she's a bad example, right? Of what not to do. Right? She's supposed to be a good example, right? We just read that they teach the young woman to be sober, right? It says teachers of good things, right? But she's not teaching, these women to do good things. She's teaching them to do bad things, man. And again, this is good. What's going to lead to, these women being put to death, man. Let me grab this. This ain't going to be too long, man. This is Isaiah 32 and verse 9. It says, rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Right? Meaning, listen up. It says, many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women. For the vintage shall fail and the gathering shall not come. And we're in a time where, that famine is going to hit. Right? And you women are going to be in a very bad case. And at that point, what are you going to do? Right? All that, harlotry, all the, like, at the end of the day, right? You don't have a man, right? She ultimately left her man, right? Whatever happened, right? Whether she left him or he left her, it doesn't matter. She don't have that man no more. Right? Now she's just ultimately going to basically advertise herself as a piece of meat, to the general public. Nobody's going to care about her. Nobody is going to, protect her when these times come, right? She's ultimately going to be asked out, man, and that's going to be her fault, right? Being an older woman, 52 years old, right? Talking about you want people to see a sexy side of you. Man, get out of here. Get out of here. Fucking 52, you done for. But see, this is the same mentality we see within these women, man. They got their moral compass pointing in the wrong direction. And that's the title of the lesson, right? They got their moral compass pointing in the wrong direction. They don't have good characteristics, right? They got bad ones, man. You're not focused on the scriptures. You focus on how how you feel, or you focus on the direction that the rest of the world is going. And again, that's going to lead to you being put to death. You women are screwed, man. If you don't have Yahweh Shemel Shai, you women are done for, man. Especially in these times that are coming, right? It says what? It says, tremble ye women, right, that are at ease. Be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins, right? Meaning you ultimately need to, let's read in the NLT. It says, tremble, you women at ease. Throw off your complacency. Strip off your pretty clothes and put on burlap to show your grief. And this is the position you women are going to be in, right? You're going to be in a position of grief. You're not going to be, be able to do the things that you want, right? Wearing the makeup and going online and, getting that attention that you're used to, right? Because for women, right, the new currency, or the new attention is the new currency, you know? Like, you can't even go up to these females and, ask for their number no more, right? They're always saying, "Oh, you can get my Instagram." No, I'm not trying to be your damn fan. I'm not trying to be a fan. I'm trying to get your number so we can link up and do, yada yada yada. No. But see, that's the way the world is going, man. You know? Which is bullshit. These women, they're just 304s, man. HO3s. That's all they are, man. But again, you women that want to continue to walk on that path, and following these bad examples, hey, that's gonna be your ass, man. You know, the Lord is gonna judge you. He has no respect to persons, man. Lord doesn't care about how pretty you are. Lord doesn't care about how many followers you got. Lord don't care about none of that shit. He wants you to follow His word, right? The law, such commandments, man. And for you women, that means you gotta, be with one man. You gotta listen to that man. You can't tell that man what to do. You gotta be that man's pillar of rest, right? But we know that the majority of these women ain't gonna do that shit, or not shit, but the women aren't gonna keep the scriptures, right? Because that's all in the scriptures. Fuck these damn women, man. But that's all I got, man. I just wanted to, it just spirit hopped onto me, to push the button, man. Because these women are done for, man. 50 fucking 2 years old. That shit blew my fucking mind. 52 years old and you trying to, come on now. Their moral compass pointing in the wrong direction. So with that, Lord wills, that if I, Lord will, straight to the point, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh. Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim Krak Wadash. Double honor to the other apostles, the other bishops, the elders, great millstones, and next time I say shalom.